So just wanted to, because I haven't released any big board. I think maybe even since the start of the season. So yeah, I definitely always want to get a big board out for every draft. And yeah, so this is the final big board for the 2021 draft. I just want to get Derek to just discuss it. We're gonna talk about the players, and I'll have the whole big board posted in the under the YouTube video. You guys will see. Yeah, we'll discuss a few players from it and just talk about yeah, our opinions and maybe some of the differences of opinion with the actual order. So yeah, Derek, you want to start with anything? You have anything in mind?
Yeah, just kind of working from the late second round kind of backwards. The guy you had at 60, Sandro Mamukelashvili, is a guy that I liked all year. I thought his versatility was awesome. I had him kind of mid to late 30s. I thought that kind of versatility at the center position, even though he was older, I thought that he can come in and give you minutes like right away, at least as a backup. And I love Milwaukee. I said last night, like Milwaukee was actually kind of my dream fit for him, because if you look at giving him like the Lopez minutes, let's say they pay Bobby Portis to keep him and you replace Lopez's minutes with Mamu, he doesn't protect the rim nearly as well, but I don't know, on offense, it lets you like really, really get the paint open where Giannis kind of do his thing. Like you wouldn't have to have anybody playing down low. I don't know what you thought about that fit, but I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a solid fit. I don't know who don't they have some other guys in the front court there already?
Let's see.
But yeah, while we look it up, what's it called? The reason I'm not as in on Sandro, I think he did a really great job with Seton Hall when he became like the main guy, and when he has the ball in his hands, he's like really good. Like especially for a big man on the perimeter. But I'm a little bit still skeptical about the shooting. I don't know how good of a shooter he really is. He's more of a guy that's really great with the handle for his size, but his shooting is not quite as impressive. So I wonder how that's going to translate. Then the stuff you talked about, of course, in the defensive end, I'm not exactly sure what his role will be on that end in the NBA either. I mean, obviously we're talking about a second round pick, but yeah, no, I mean, you make a solid point about the versatility and the fit in Milwaukee. I think it's solid. I'm just, I've always been a little bit more skeptical on Sandro. Like I think a lot of people like his game, like that ball handling and some of the passing skills he has. He's like you're saying, he's older, but he's actually fairly young for a senior at least. But yeah, I just always wonder, like, kind of like the game, like the way he plays is good, but like how good is he, like, really, as far as like production overall value when we're talking about for an NBA prospect.
Right. Yeah, I looked at the books. So they have Diakite is the only other one that they have like that can play down low at all. It's at least anybody with size. Like they have on the books, Giannis, Middleton, Drew,
right.
Brooke. We have Brooke for two more. And then it's like Merrill, Nora, Diakite, DiVincenzo.
Yeah, so, no, I mean, definitely if he gets if he becomes like their second string big man, yeah, that would be pretty good. I think that would probably move him up. But I don't know. I wonder, like, I don't know. I don't really like trust that they're gonna just throw him in. I think they'll like sign somebody or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, no, you make a decent point. Like, I'm kind of like, if he was Sandro, sometimes I'm like, I guess I ended up kind of low on him, but I've been points higher on him. So yeah.
What did you think? What did you think of Preston going where he went? Because I was kind of with you of late 50s on him. Like obviously they filled up a stat sheet, but I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't see early 30s for him.
Yeah, I think maybe some people are like the passing again. It's like kind of like the aesthetic of the game, like definitely some really impressive and like fun moments. But how is it really going to translate? How good is he really overall? Like some of that stuff with the runners and kind of bullying some of the like mid-major guards and stuff like that. Yeah, I wonder how much that's going to translate. Like how dependable is the shot and stuff like that. And even the passing, it's obviously very good for among like college prospects and stuff, but so it's not like, this isn't LaMelo. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, he's like poor man's LaMelo or whatever, but yeah, I don't think that's the case.
That's unfair.
yeah. So yeah, I think just a guy that kind of again needs the ball in his hands a lot, and yeah, I'm not really sure how he fits in a smaller role, how a lot of his impact translates to something like that.
I'm trying to look at another one. We both had Livers in this spot. We both had Herb Jones up there. Herb Jones, we had gotten wind that some teams really liked him in the late 30s, like coming up to the draft. I forget where let's see where he went. Herb.
Like 35, I think, or something like that.
35. Yeah, like that's where we heard he was going. I don't know. Without the ability to shoot, at least shoot well, like the inefficiency just really kind of bothers me. You know what you're getting on defense, but I think I was kind of with you on that one as well, like 50s.
Yeah. I always like, because usually I'm the one that likes these types of like defensive players, but it seems like every year or every few years there'll be one guy that for some reason like all the major draft media guys will just like what is it called, like rally around that one guy that's like defense only and has no offense. But then there's a bunch of other guys like that, but nobody gives them damn
right.
about them. Like I don't know, like a Gabe Boyan at West Virginia, like an incredible defender, but I mean I don't think he's as good as Herb Jones, but still like, in the 50s, I don't mind Herb Jones, but I don't know. Some people are talking about like a late first round pick. I mean, this guy, like, I saw like several like airballed layups, like in open transition with him. It's like some of the stuff is, I don't know.
Yeah. Other than the defense, I just don't know how reliable it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Neemias Queta, I really liked him. I thought he was really good this year. That's probably one of the guys I had higher than you, at least on my personal board. I just loved how he improved handling double teams on the block as a passer. And he was able, I thought his footwork as a low post scorer improved a lot. And those are two things. Obviously, the injury history is what it is, but like the passing and the low post scoring that on non-dunks are something that I thought he improved, at least in the games that I saw from last year, which is why I think I had him kind of like early 40s.
I mean, Queta was incredible this year in college. Like he's an incredible college player. I just, for the NBA, like bigs, I don't want to go too long, but yeah, I mean, just like the big thing, like it's, unless you're like Mobley, it's really tough as a big nowadays. You have to have some kind of like outstanding skill as far as either being able to switch or really being able to shoot well, and Queta not really either one of those per se. So yeah, but he's a very good player. I agree with that. So yeah, maybe sometimes guys are able to just through being so productive and just capable of getting points and rebounds and stuff. And you say he's a good passer now. Maybe he'll be able to get it done.
Yeah. Talk to me about Sam. It looks like you have Sam Hauser at 46. And I had him probably a little later than that, but I don't know. I was surprised to see him not get drafted.
Yeah.
Honestly, just with a big kid who can shoot. I don't know. Why do you think he didn't get drafted? Because that one kind of shocked me.
Yeah, I tweeted this out yesterday, but I feel like this year we've seen or we're gonna see a lot more two-ways than we usually see in the second round. And I think starting with Forey, because of COVID and the kind of the CBA moving down, teams are like really penny pinching with that and like giving guys two ways. So I think what a lot of guys did, since you're gonna get a two-way anyway, they're like, all right, then I'd rather just choose my own team and go undrafted. I'm not saying that necessarily happened to Hauser, but I think that happened with a few cases, possibly Hauser. I know they were reporting that at first he wanted to sign with Celtics, but then he denied him and he went to another. Or was it the Heat that wanted to sign him?
Yeah, because I think the Celtics ended up with him.
Okay, so yeah, the Heat wanted to, and then he went to the Celtics, right? So yeah, but yeah, the reason I had him in the 40s is just like pretty straightforward. The incredible shooting,
Once Sharife Cooper, once it got to 40, and he was still on the board with the new second round pick two-way rule, where it's just the guaranteed half of the minimum. I thought that Cooper's agent was just going to say, "Don't pick me, like don't pick me." As soon as at 41, I thought there's no way he's getting picked tonight. I was like, because I would have pulled. I mean, Lou Dort style, you pull your name out. You say, "I'm not doing that," which is what I think Aaron Henry did, because he was signed like 90 seconds after the draft concluded. Like again, that's what I think he did, and that's what I thought Cooper was going to do. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, but sometimes guys, it's been their dream to be drafted, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff. Maybe.
Who else in the second round or like mid to late second round do you want to talk about?
I think there's nobody really in that range I really want to go through.
We'll go early second then.
Can I ask you something real quick with the Cooper? Why did he go so? Do you have any? What do you think?
Yeah, so a lot of it was based on what I've been told, not basketball related. And it's not so much skill set related. So we had been about 2 weeks ago, we were told by from various sides, like, hey, that kid's not going in the first round. And at first it kind of caught us off guard, but then we just heard it over and over and over and over and over. And that's when the McBride, Primo, Christopher, especially, that's when the Quentin Grimes talk in the first round really picked up.
Right.
Because I was thinking, okay, well, who replaces him then? Like McBride was right there. And that's when it's like, oh, Grimes is going to be the guy that the Knicks take, if they stay there. So I think it was not basketball. Also the height thing. It matters more based on different people you talk to. The kid's not 6'1". I think if you take his shoes off, he's like 5'11", 5'11 and a half. I mean, kid's tiny. So that's fine. It clearly doesn't bother him a whole lot on the floor, especially when he has the ball in his hand. But I just feel like if you're going to be that small, you either need to be an elite athlete, or I need you to be hitting 40% of your threes from 30 feet, which, again, the comparison to Trae Young, I'm like, you can't do that because, again, I live in Oklahoma City. I watched Trae Young 15 times at OU. He just did what he literally just toyed with defenses. Cooper was electric, but he wasn't toying with you. He was making difficult plays look easy. And there's a big difference. And I think teams you have the height, you have the defensive liability. Again, I don't think those in themselves really push people too far. But then it's, what does he do at the next level if the height does become an issue? Kind of with the personality on-court stuff or off-court stuff you may have to worry about. Auburn Intel was a little bit rough. I think the whole combination just slipped him. But again, in my wildest dreams, I didn't think past 35, 36. Yeah, I didn't see that like at all. And then once 39 came and I didn't hear his name, I was like, oh, dude, just tell people don't take me. Just, I want to control the contract. That's what I thought would happen.
Yeah. Well, did you guys have him outside the first round in your mock?
Yeah, we had him at 32 to New York.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I heard a little bit, not recently, nobody actually said, oh, he's gonna drop because of this, but I heard like months ago in the past that like people were saying like his pops had some kind of past or something like that, and there's something with that. So yeah. But yeah, we could move on. Maybe just do one or two of the very top of this last year, if you want to talk about it.
Let's see. Good on you for having Aldama at 32. Because you're looking really good with that one. I thought Aldama was a 50 to 60 guy. When I saw Memphis trade up to 30, again, just like they did last year, I thought it had McBride written all over it. I thought, oh, they're taking McBride right here. Put him right next to Morant. Let them run the floor together. He can take the defensive assignments and shoot off ball. I saw Aldama's name go. The word is they just wanted to control the contract. Again, get him on the rookie scale. We don't have to negotiate money. There's talk of them moving Brandon Clark as a possibility. Does Aldama fit that role? I think so, at least to some extent. And I like Aldama. I'm curious to see what about him had him that high for you? Because I liked his game, but I don't know. I never personally contemplated having him up there in the 30s.
Well, to be clear, this board was made. I mean, I had a board prior to the draft, but I definitely moved guys around based on fit and stuff, like based on the results of the draft. Yeah, Aldama, I moved him up a few spots. I think I had him, but I still had him like maybe in the late 30s or mid 30s or something like that prior. Yeah, I definitely trust Memphis more with him than I would, I think, majority of teams. I like him. I think he compares in a lot of ways to like some of the other like these upside kind of skilled, somewhat mobile like forwards like a Kai Jones or JT Thor even to some extent. I think those guys are a little bit more athletic and like a little bit more like quick twitch, but he's further along as far as a lot skills and passing. He's much better than either of
Mhm.
those guys. Yeah, and he's similar. Well, Thor is younger than both those guys, but Aldama is like pretty much almost the same age as Kai Jones, I believe. So yeah, I think just kind of from that perspective of taking one of these skilled perimeter bigs who has a lot of upside, maybe you're always going to have some worry about the thinner body and how they're going to be able to play in the paint and, fight through contact and stuff like that. But if they're able to kind of get through that, and if their shooting develops, there's pretty good amount of upside there. So, yeah, I definitely like Aldama to a degree.
Yeah. Word is the chatter was he wasn't getting past the Thunder at 34 and 36. That they kind of
I heard that too, actually. That's
that they wanted JRE and Aldama at 34, 36, which again, just knowing those guys the way I do, it makes so much sense. So I think that was the dream scenario for them, and Memphis was like, no, we got to go get him. And then you saw the Thunder have to go get JRE, which was kind of funny because Orlando was going to take him at 33.
Yeah, because you saw as soon as Memphis got Aldama, OKC traded one of those picks, right?
Yeah, they traded 34 and 36 to go to 32.
Yeah, Robinson. Yeah. What do you think of Robinson-Earl? He's like a guy that I kind of never know what to do exactly.
I mean, really, the ceiling's not really that high, and neither's the upside. But I want that guy on my team so bad. Yeah, he just does a little stuff, man. Like he'll do this. He'll set the screens. He'll get the offensive rebounds. He'll make the right pass. He'll hustle. He'll seal. He'll box out. He'll just do all the stuff like the stars don't want to do. I do worry just because he's not an elite athlete. Like if he's down on the block all the time, how much presence can he have on defense at the rim? Like I'd see him being a guy who gets put on some posters in the NBA. Yeah. But again, like he'll do all the little stuff. He'll do the dirty work for you. So I love it.
You think so? He's a 4. Do you think he can play the 3 ever?
Nah, I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, he can handle the ball a little, but like enough to where I would say even a part-time big 3 that can initiate. I just don't know if I see that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, do you want to talk about any of these guys? I don't want to kill our time and before we get to the top guys. I want to talk all these guys with you, but
Cool. No, you're good. We'll go to tier 4 and just like hit like 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah. We'll hit a few of these guys because it's already higher. But yeah, go ahead.
All right. I want to hear what you think about Memphis taking Ziaire at 10.
Yeah, that was I don't know. I'm not a big Ziaire guy. Again, I trust Memphis a lot, so I kind of moved them up even based on them taking him. But I don't know. I never got into Ziaire. But I did this like the day before, like 2 days even before the draft, is I watched a lot of AAU from 2019 with a lot of these guys. And Ziaire, even there, I was kind of disappointed looking back. I liked him when I watched him back in the AAU the first time, but watching him back, like some of the issues, like even with the athleticism, I know there was worry because he had that brace early in the season, and like is that the reason why his athleticism isn't popping as much as maybe people hope? But even in AAU, it was a little bit disappointing watching back, to be honest. And another thing is the shooting has always been more of an off the dribble guy than a spot up guy. Like his spot up shooting has actually not been that effective. He's very good off the dribble shooter when you consider his size and his age, but like spotting up and like off the catch shooting, he hasn't really, been that amazing. So I don't know, maybe they see that they could develop his body. They have some kind of physical projection that I'm not understanding, I'm not privy to or something like that. And they think, there's a lot more upside there as far as like handling and creation and stuff. But I don't know. I don't really see, in fact, I am talking myself to even moving them down, but I do trust Memphis to an extent to, they know what they're doing. They know how to utilize guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, the interesting part about it for me is not even Ziaire himself, because I'm with you. It felt super high, but I feel like they know what they're doing. So I just kind of say, hey, like, do what you want with this kid. They were linked so heavily to Duarte for a while that I thought they were going to try to put a wing shooter across from Bane and just try to hit 23s a night. I thought they're going to try to go make the playoffs right now, go get a guy who can play right now. And that's where Ziaire and Aldama, to me, I thought, wow, neither of these are win now players, which confused me. That's why I thought, I like right before the pick, again, looking at the board, I thought, okay, maybe you take Moody because I think he's probably more win now than Ziaire is, even if it's by a year. I don't know, he just seemed a little bit more ready, I guess, just because of his body. But I thought, oh, this really could be like Duarte or Kispert time. I'd love to see them spread the floor. Morant running the show, and then you have Bane and Duarte on opposite sides. Oh, you're going to score so many points. And then they took him, and I was like, okay, so what are we trying to do right now? That was the confusing part to me, just with like what their timeline is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've always felt like their timeline has been like long term. I mean, if you look at them, like most teams will, even like with younger guys, usually they'll still add a few like veterans to kind of stay somewhat competitive. But Memphis kind of went all out, just not almost not caring about winning. So yeah, I mean, even though they still did well because they had some really good picks and some guys that worked out for them. Well, so yeah, I wasn't that shocked by that, but I think you like kind of implied that you heard something that they wanted to take Duarte, wanted to go, hurry the timeline a bit. So yeah, what do you think of Duarte? It seemed like you were pretty high on him. Are you a fan of his?
Yeah, we liked him. We liked him all year. I think it was like the third or fourth game of the year. Matt was at the game. He calls me on the way back to the car in the parking lot. He's like, hey, do you know anything about Chris Duarte? I was like, I mean, I know who he is, but that's pretty much it. Like, I haven't really studied anything, like whatever. He was like, yeah, man, this kid's a first round pick. Like, we're going to put him in the first round of the mock tomorrow. And that was in like November. and I thought we were jumping the gun. And Matt holds this against me a little bit. I was like, whoa, hold on. He's like 24. Let's slow down just a little. And then you watch film and you realize, okay, he's still doing it at a high level. 5 games later, okay, he's still crushing people. I thought late lottery was fine for him. Golden State really wanted, again, based on what we heard, really wanted Giddey and Duarte 7-14 was one of the things they wanted to do. So having both of them come off the board one spot before their picks was honestly, it was tough to see. I was like, oh, that is a rough night in the draft room. But again, I thought Duarte was an ultimate fit for a win now team. And even though they're not a championship contender, I like to fit on the Pacers because he's a nice mix of catch and shooting, spot up shooting, movement, and off the dribble. And that's what I think makes him so good. Is how he can spread the floor for them. They were like the 4th worst team in the East last year shooting from 3. I just think he keeps them more relevant. So even though he's 24, I thought he was still a lottery talent, but only for certain teams because of where they were. Like if I was, the Thunder or Houston, I wasn't taking him. But the teams who were competitive and want to remain competitive, I thought he was awesome and thought he made total sense.
Yeah, a lot of teams, not a lot, but some teams, I'll say, they just want to win games like in the regular season. Obviously they want to win a championship, but they don't mind just improving a few games and just maybe getting into the second round and staying like a winning, solid franchise. They're not necessarily going championship or nothing, a lot of, And I mean, I'm not exactly either of those beliefs. I'm closer to like the championship stuff. But I understand that perspective, and it makes sense from like an ownership perspective, just to keep the arena sold out and fans engaged.
And that's something like, again, I started in basketball in my first job in basketball was in the business office, and I understand the implications of this game at home. What does this player in this situation and timeline look for? This perspective from the sponsors, from the naming rights on the arena, what are they asking basketball clubs and all this kind of stuff and like how it all fits. Again, I'm not a huge fan of a team trying to stay in that middle gray area where you can't ever get a star, but you're never going to win a title. I'm not a fan of that. I think that, again, that's what sustains a business financially. You give me that 1 or 2 playoff games and give me my money, give me the TV ratings that fans will watch and be interested, but we're never going to go anywhere. I don't know. Part of me feels like that's the way the Pacers went with this one because it probably keeps them a 5 or 6 seed. I don't know, but like it doesn't put you over the top, quite like maybe going for a super high upside kid would have done.
Well, they did get Isaiah Jackson, who I'm a huge fan of. We'll talk about him later. But what's it called? Pacers just historically haven't they like been a team that's always like avoids the tax? Like it's like the throw.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump. We'll do the top 15. So we'll start at 15. You put Kuminga. Is that And again, remind me where you have them right now. Is that like based on their fit, or this? If you were going into the draft, you would have had him at number 15.
This is kind of an attempt to project their 75th percentile outcomes
based on where they were drafted,
but including where they were drafted, because that, in my opinion, influences how.
100%. And it bugs the crap out of me when people don't take that into account. They're like, oh, this player's good or bad. It's like, wow, no, where he went had so much to do with this. I don't know. So I like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually think that good or bad, it also like has merits, but I think a lot of it is that, but I definitely think fit is not nothing. Like there's definitely importance to it, but let's do 15 Kuminga. I just don't believe like he's inefficient. He doesn't really know how to play with the ball that well. I mean, the physical talent is intriguing, and I did the Kuminga episode with PD. So if you guys want to hear more in depth on him, you guys can listen to that episode. But I think Kuminga might be like a small ball 5 even, or like a 4 is like a ideal role for him eventually down the line, because I really like the body and I like the coordination considering his size and age and stuff like that. But I just don't really see the high upside stuff because the touch isn't really there. I don't think he's like that level of dynamic athlete like I don't know, like a Jalen Green, for example, or something like that. But so I'm definitely lower on him than consensus, but I'm not like totally like I still have him 15th. That's usually there's 15 players that are like legit like rotation type of guys, like top 8 type of guys on the team in every draft, approximately, obviously.
Yeah, I am curious to see what role they have him play. When we were in the gym with him, again, he's probably, I mean, with his shoes on, I think, it's probably 6'7". He's not some people want to call him, 6'8" or so. I don't know. I don't think he's that big. So I think he's more of a 3-4, but he's really going to have to tighten up that ball handling and clean up the decision-making if he's going to play the 3 at a high level, especially on a team with veterans, at least early, who are not going to put up with a lot of mistakes around them because they're champions and they know what it takes to win. I'm just curious to see how early he touches the floor. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say maybe if at all for them, at least like really early.
Yeah, I think he'll get some minutes, but I don't know if he's going to have a lot of success as a rookie, and I don't think they're going to, keep throwing him out there if he's like, shooting 40% effective field goal or whatever. But I agree on that he's probably only 6'7", but I like the length and some of the stuff if you go back and watch the Ignite when he's like playing as a roll man or even doing like rim protection, he has some of his best moments, I think, in spots like that. So I mean, we've seen like smaller centers before, even like going back to like Ben Wallace or obviously Draymond. I mean, Kuminga is not as strong as those guys, but he's willing to be physical, and as the NBA gets smaller and more mobile, that would definitely take it into account. With a lot of these guys, I'm actually kind of projecting that the NBA is going to continue to go more mobile and smaller, not drastically, but to some degree, why I'm so high on Isaiah Jackson partly, and like Scottie Barnes, I think may eventually be able to play small ball as well. But
Keon Johnson, he went right around the range that I thought he would. I had him kind of 20 to 25 right there before the draft on a board. What do you think? Why do you have him in the top 15? At least for like the fit on the Clippers, like the athleticism. My question, a lot of it revolves around the offense. And again, Tennessee wasn't the most free offense. It didn't necessarily let him show what all he might be able to do. But I'm curious about, I don't know, what is it about his fit with the Clippers that has him up here at 14?
Yeah, I don't think it's really the fit. I didn't put a lot of thought into in his particular situation, what the fit is with the Clippers. Because I think with him, by the time he's, what he is, it's going to be a whole different team. Like the Clippers is going to be, So, with Keon, it's just like an upside play with the athleticism, and you see some of the stuff back to like the AU stuff that was really impressive. And I definitely think the Tennessee offense, it's weird because they have an offense that kind of allows them to do what kind of he likes to do, like some of that mid-range, like short-range jumper stuff. But that's kind of the stuff he likes to do that's bad, that he shouldn't be doing. So it kind of encourages some of his bad habits. So I think, yeah, like in the more spaced out floor in the NBA and stuff like that, I think there's a chance at least that it may work out a little bit more positively than it did in his first year in Tennessee.
Yeah. Jalen Johnson, I think just pure basketball talent, is a top 10 talent in this class. It's crazy. Like we all kind of knew he was going to slip. Thought 15 to 30 felt right for him. And what did he was it 20? I think he went 20. Yeah. Again, I hope it clicks for him just because he's been labeled so many things by different people in the media with how he's handled the different schools and teams and whatnot. I'm excited to see how Atlanta uses him. I'm curious if they just thought they would get him, or if it was just like, hey, he's here, he's so good, we have to take him. Like we'll just figure it out, because they already have a ton of wings. But I will say, even with Okongwu, who can play 4 or 5, I mean, a little undersized if you want to call him more of a 4, but at least Jalen's a 4 who can put on the floor. So I'm curious to see how they use him, like with all the other young guys they have.
Yeah, and I worry about it a little bit about like the shooting with Capella. Like I guess they probably won't play a lot of minutes with him and Capella together. Maybe play like Collins at the 5 with Johnson at the 4 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said, the talent is there. I've heard some of the off-court stuff, and it does concern me a little bit. I think definitely there's a lot of kind of bustability there. Like I definitely think there, we saw. I always think of Josh Jackson with him, another JJ, who, a lot of talent, but just, hasn't been able to put his off-court and on-court stuff all together all the time. And I mean, Jackson has gotten better with the Pistons. He's looked pretty decent actually this last season. But there's definitely that concern with Johnson, but the talent, no doubt there. And if he ever like shoots it to a degree where, guys have to get out on him a little bit, all of a sudden, that pick is going to look really, really good for the Hawks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Kispert, you have on your board at 12, went 15th.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Kispert. I just like this guy is like, I mean, I know people like joke about this, but I mean, he's a winner. Like the guy could like every single season Gonzaga is top 3 with him. Like he just, he knows how to play, moves the ball around. He's efficient. I think sometimes people worry about these types of athletes, the like kind of thicker guys like that. They think are a little bit slow-footed and stuff. But in truth, that position especially, but even overall, but especially in those like kind of small forward type area, a lot of NBA guys are bigger than the guys you face in like top D1 schools. So the quickness level actually doesn't rise that much relative to NCAA and NBA, especially again in that particular position. But even overall, because there's so much more size in NBA, that's where the big difference lies. And yeah, I mean, I talked about how the NBA is going to get more smaller, more mobile, but as of now, and I think even in the future, it's always going to be like, size is a really big deal translating to the pros. And he has the size for his position. It's, maybe his arm's a little short, but, like we saw last year with Patrick Williams, I kind of learned my lesson from that. I was kind of worried about his mobility, and, he's turned out just fine. So, yeah.
What has Kispert 9 spots ahead of Duarte?
That's a good question. I just think Kispert is like a more like elite shooter. I think he's like he's a guy that I think could shoot like 40% on relatively high volume 3-pointers in the NBA. Whereas with Duarte, that's I guess a possibility, but I'm a little bit more, skeptical that's gonna happen for him per se. I think Duarte has maybe a little bit more like ball skills and stuff like that. Like he could create a little bit more but even that, well, he could create a little bit more and stuff like that because some of like the agility stuff and stuff like that. But I just think Kispert could fit with the team. We saw him with Gonzaga for years, just play that role so perfectly. And I think in NBA, a lot of these guys are not going to have the ball in their hands all the time. Not that Duarte is some like, super high volume guy, but I just really trust Kispert to just be a perfect fit for somebody and really excel in kind of a supporting role.
Yeah. Do you think Moses Moody at 14 was a steal or like really good value? Because everything we'd heard, I mean, 8 to 10 kind of felt like 8, 9, or 10 was where he would ultimately fall. I didn't see him getting all the way to 14. That kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, I think it was solid value. I was kind of half joking that the Warriors picked Moody at 7 and Kuminga at 14, so that's like a solid draft. But yeah, when I did the consensus big board for draft Twitter, Moses Moody ended up like number 6 almost. He was like barely away from number 5. I was surprised, and not a single board had him higher than 5. That was the crazy part too. That
he was just like sitting right there, just over and over.
Yeah, everybody just had him like 6, 7, 5, 8, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think Moody is kind of another guy like Kispert. I think I'm a believer, what I've found, always talking to different people on draft Twitter and stuff, that I'm more of a believer in his defense, like that crazy wingspan. I think people sometimes underrate like length has a lot to do, I think, with translation defensively in particular to the NBA. So I think that definitely helps him. And I think he's like a smart defender. He understands his role and stuff, especially considering he's very young as well. By the way, I wanted to mention real quick, I forgot with Kispert and Duarte. Kispert is like 2 years younger than Duarte, which I think gives some difference. They both, for older guys, not to go back to that, but they both, for older guys, have improved steadily. I think that's pretty impressive. They've continued to improve even though they're older guys. But Kispert having that couple years advantage, I think, gives them some also. But yeah. To Moody, I'm higher on his defense, I think, than at least the people I've talked to. But I think a lot of people really, really like his shooting, like because of his age. They think he's going to be like an elite shooter potentially. But I'm a little bit more skeptical about that part.
Yeah. What is your philosophy on age? Like, obviously, like 18 to 24 is a huge gap, and honestly, not really worthy of a debate. But if you're picking, close to similar skill sets or even, value based on picks, 18, 19, 20, 21, what are your thoughts on like how you would go across or like how you would evaluate players with age being like a big factor?
Yeah, age is definitely huge to me. Comparing my board relative to like some of the consensus or like major media boards, that's one of the things that really stood out. A lot of the guys that I had higher were like younger guys. And definitely. I think pretty much a fact that age has a huge amount of like the correlation with like the way production develops and stuff like that. Like if you look at like some like 85% of players have their 10-year prime between 23 and 32, their 6-year prime between 24 and 29, and their 2-year prime 27, 28. So it's like a very like a predictable age curve for nearly like everybody, which is very rare to get something so predictable in the draft. So that's why I put so much stock into it. I think it's so important to keep track of and stuff like that. So I definitely put I think more than the average person. I think that kind of philosophy of really valuing age heavily is analytical philosophy. Like people that use models and really trust stats usually are the ones that you'll see placing a lot of value on age. So for I think that's the type of people that, at least in this particular sense, I'm kind of similar to. But a lot of people that go more with just eye test, they're like, oh no, I think this guy is just better. I don't care if it's a couple of years, whatever. I think where it gets interesting maybe is when guys have like, where's that line? Like if a guy's 3 months older than somebody, does that really matter? Probably not. Well, what about 6 months? What about 9 months? What about a year? A year probably matters. But what about 8 months, So that's kind of like the interesting questions like that. Like how much does different like time periods matter? Where those lines, that's kind of the stuff what I still wonder about sometimes. But I'm definitely a big believer in ages, using for evaluation.
I mean, number 10, another young guy. I saw your tweet today about.
Yeah, I hate Primo. I don't hate Primo. I don't hate any player, but I hate people that overrate somebody.
Springer, but it's true. Again, I did not see. I thought Springer would end up 15 to. I didn't think he'd fall past 23. I thought. I had Garuba mocked correctly. I'm sorry, to 24. I had Garuba mocked correctly to Houston 23, and I had Springer at 24. I didn't see Houston passing up on Jaden Springer to take Josh Christopher. But again, you said the higher usage, true shooting, like literally everything. and a 16 spot different on the board. I don't know. That's just kind of nuts. Why do you have Springer top 10? And I guess addressing the people who don't have him that high, a lot of it is they don't buy the ceiling. I think they're all in on the high floor. They're all in on elite role player for like 12 years probably, if not more. But do you just see a higher upside? Like, is it the ball handling from IMG that you like that you didn't really get to do at Tennessee?
Well, I mean, he's number 10. If you look at the 10th best guy in the average draft, that's going to be like, you know, I don't know, 6th guy on the south, like like an average team, or like a 5th guy, something like that. You know, it's not going to be like a star. So, I mean, I am going to like 75th percentile outcome, but still, like, I'm not necessarily, well, yeah, I'm whatever. I don't want to go into whole spiel, but
you're good.
what's called, but no, Springer. Yeah, I mean, just the age and the production is, I trust a lot. I think a lot of people have this issue with the thicker, like thick body wings for whatever reason.
Like bully guards.
Yeah, like, or like even, well, yeah, mostly like a guy like Admiral Schofield or somebody like that, or like Desmond Bain last year. Like, those types of guys, for some reason, like scouts in the NBA and a lot of people that like, you know, on draft Twitter and stuff, for some reason just have like some kind of, I don't want to say bias, but just don't like that archetype for whatever reason. I don't know why there's this dislike towards it. I mean, yeah, some of those guys didn't do as well, but a lot of those guys like Bain did really well last year. It's not like there's no like pattern to them being bad all the time or like failing all the time. I mean, there's a little bit, I think, to the theory that if you're really polished physically, you could dominate at a young age, like we see with the Garuba when he was like this incredible, like looked like a top 2 player in his age group at 15, 16 years old. And now, I mean, he's still a very good prospect, but he's not quite at that because, you know, as guys matured and
caught up to him. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, but yeah, I don't think Springer is like some, you know, this, especially at this point, you know, he's not 15 now, he's not playing 9th graders, you know, and he's not like that huge and only dependent on strength or something. You know, he's a very smart player, plays really hard, you know, fairly skilled, and some like his footwork is very, very good. Yeah, I think he's an underrated athlete, as we saw at the combine as well. So yeah, I just think at that age and that production, it's kind of like a no-brainer. You know, a lot of pick, maybe a few spots down, I'd be fine with. But yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Sengun to Houston again. I didn't see Houston taking a center. 2, I didn't see Houston trading up to take a center. Just very not what I thought Houston was going to do. What do you think about that one? Because I think he's going to pretty much just, hey, like the paint is yours. That's what I think he's going to get. Hey, the low post, the block, it is yours, man. But then his passing, the way he sees the floor, I think is awesome. And I want to see him again. I'm not a big comp guy. I'm not going to call a guy Jokic. I don't want to do that. But if you have him try to fit that mold of, hey, this is the role, this is the way I want you to have the ball at the top of the key, this is how I need you to be a fulcrum of the offense up at the top. I mean, he could be really good. So is that why you have him that high? Because he was a guy that all year I was like, I don't know where to put this kid. He was my biggest question mark all season.
Yeah, he's definitely a difficult one, but yeah, like seeing Houston trade up for him, and obviously, like I trust Houston's at least front office to some extent. So, seeing them take it, I definitely moved them quite a bit. I think I had them like in the 15, like 16 range, something like that before the draft. I think the reason they took him is like if you look at like draft models, he's not all of them, like they differ. Like draft models all have a lot of variance also, but a lot of them like will have him like number 2 in this class, number 3, like stuff like that. So I think they just kind of from a just production standpoint, and obviously on film, like you talked about, like the passing is very good, and I mean he has very good footwork inside, and shows some skill on the outside. He'll have some flashes and impressive like jump shooting and stuff like that, or like at least potential for jump shooting. So yeah, I mean, kind of the reason they took him is just kind of upside play and we remember with Jokic was a guy who a lot of people doubted based, like you said, on similar things as far as like athleticism. And then the models loved Jokic, and obviously that ended up working out really well. So yeah, I think because of that, they're going to give him the opportunity. What worried me with Sengun is the team is going to take him like Goga a few years back and just going to sit him on the bench. And, you'll never see him. And like, maybe he'll come out and then, he doesn't contain a pick and roll because, that he's not the most agile guy in the world. And, they sit him right back down. So I was a little bit worried about that. But once the Rockets took him, I kind of was a lot more confident. I will say, to the statistical arguments for Sengun, and our friend PD Webb has made this point, and it's a good one, is the Turkish league this year is a lot worse than it has been in previous years.
I did see him get into it this morning.
Yeah, with Dean about that.
Yeah. But yeah, PD's great points. I mean, he literally took a screenshot of they spent like $19 million less or something like that. And a lot of the imports weren't there. The competition level was just different, which, again, that's PD, as always, making correct and amazing points.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with Dean. I don't think like Kanter was that like Sengun was really good this year. Kanter was really good as a young player, but I don't think some huge difference. I actually agree with Dean on that. But PD is right about the Turkish league being much weaker. And I did a small statistical study based on that, where I went through like play-by-plays where he played versus EuroLeague level teams in the Turkish league. And I took out like because he played a lot of possession versus like backups, third stringers, even when he played like the top Turkish teams. So I took out those possessions and just kept the possessions where he played only the top like high level players. And his numbers, when you go to that, are still good, but they're much more closer to somebody like Garuba, who played in actual EuroLeague the whole time. So I mean, obviously he's much better offensively, worse defensively, but I mean, like in the general production sense, they definitely fall when you look at better competition. So yeah, but I mean, definitely still, even with that in mind, he's definitely a very talented player. I mean, you think about like, he's really young still. So yeah. I think it was a solid pick for Houston. It'll be interesting how he plays with Christopher and Kevin Porter, how they get him the ball and everything, like how they're all gonna vibe together. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Isaiah Jackson's next, so I want to hear your takes on Jackson.
Well, Jackson, I just that's my guy in this draft. I think. I mean, just we've seen with Kentucky repeatedly. I've had a pretty good track record, I feel like, with Kentucky. Maybe this is the one where I feel. I mean, I was pretty high on Malik Monk, so I guess on that one I was sort of wrong. But I think higher than most on Fox, Shea, PJ Washington. I remember everybody told me Grant Williams would be better, but I had PJ on that one, so that's a W for me. So yeah, I'm gonna run.
Twitter got a little out of control with the Grant Williams over PJ Washington talk.
Yeah, you had PJ too, right? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Washington. That development year to year was huge.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the second year.
Yeah, it was like, this is a different player. It was like, this is an NBA player. Yeah.
Well, he showed that in AU, so that's how I thought he would like go. But then freshman, he kind of regressed and didn't really work, and then he was back on track. Like as a sophomore, he wasn't that good as a high school player, but he definitely, like you said, improved a lot. But that's kind of the track I thought he'd be on like that. But yeah. Right. But yeah, with Isaiah Jackson, I think just like we've seen repeatedly with Kentucky, like they're hiding like some of the skills that their players have. And I remember Jackson at AAU was a lot better a perimeter player. And even in Kentucky, he still did a lot of stuff from like the short corner face-offs and some of the elbow jump shots. He actually shot a decent, I mean, not that good, but like considering he's a big man and a freshman, he had some, flashes of shot making and like attacking the straight line. Even some passing, I think, is a little bit underrated for him. He's not like an amazing passer, but he has a little bit more than maybe people talk about. And of course, like the incredible like shot blocking, and I think he took a huge step forward as an athlete this year. And he was so thin in high school, and he's still like not a huge guy, but he added some weight.
He's fairly strong though.
Yeah, and that really helped him become a lot more like quick off his feet and just like changing directions and like lunging in different ways. Yeah, I think that kind of shows that maybe there's a little bit more there. That maybe he could add a little bit more weight and add a little bit more of that quickness and kind of athleticism, or at least become a little bit maybe not add like necessarily inches to his vertical, but make it more functional, like understand how to use it better. And we definitely with him, he's a guy who, you know, you'll see on one possession he'll contain like a guy really well, and then the next possession he totally falls asleep. His footwork is way off. You know, he's late on the closeout and he just gives up like a lane or something like that. So you know, considering all that stuff. And even then, when you look at Kentucky, like the numbers they had with him on off court is like insane. Like it's completely different team when he was on the floor. Like especially obviously in the defensive end. Like I think the team shot like 10-12% worse at the rim with him on the floor. So yeah, yeah, I'm just a big believer in Jackson's talent. There's definitely like downside there. I've heard like off court, I heard he's a good kid, but like maybe not like basketball wise. I'm not saying he's dumb, but like just basketball wise, he's like not the brightest guy as far as like catching on to concepts really fast and stuff like that. But like it's not like nothing like crazy that he's like a bad guy or like he has some like crazy issue or anything. Where like in medically, I haven't heard anything in particular that's negative or anything like that. And then with the NBA getting smaller, I think he could play in like the playoffs and stuff like that. He'll probably play small ball 5. But I think he has, like I said, I believe in his offensive skills enough that I think he could play the 4 like in the regular season or if he's starting or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so because of time, we got 7 guys left. I'll let you pick 3 or 4 you want to go over.
Yeah, we'll leave. Let's just do or should we do? Let's do Mobley and Cade. I'll talk about because I think people will question why I have Mobley number 1.
Hey, I'm not going to question it. I'll just say that. I think if they both hit 75 percentile, Mobley probably ends up the better player.
Yeah, I mean it's really close. Like I put Mobley number 1 like 2 weeks ago. Then last week I put Cade back number 1, and then just like I really like because what I was worried partly with Mobley is the fit because with bigs again like there's so many bigs in the league and if you go like Onyeka went to the Hawks and they just didn't really have
buried him.
Yeah, exactly. So I was worried a bit with Mobley stuff like that. But Cleveland they need like guys like Mobley even though they have Jared Allen, but still like I think they'll give him minutes. They have a ton of guards around him already, young talented guys. So yeah, I decided to give Mobley a slight edge, but this is no like I do have some concerns with Cade, but I'm not saying like if he's number 1, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it is really close. And I love Jalen Suggs as well. Then I decided to go Mobley, just incredible talent. I think there's a lot of upside there, especially if he adds some weight. That's like another little concern with Mobley. He hasn't had a lot of weight the last couple of years, but hopefully he figures it out. I mean, he's young enough that it's still not like a huge issue for now. But I don't know. Who do you want to talk about with the 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, or even Suggs? You want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, so being here in Oklahoma City, I got asked a ton.
Oh yeah, Giddey.
I have my opinions on how they fit, or him and Shea, how they fit together. I want to hear what you think about that because 6 felt like a reach to me. But again, I think this was the case of you have your guy. It doesn't matter. Again, that's why I think a lot of people who do mock drafts and stuff, it's like put yourself in the team's shoes. When we're doing mock drafts, it's like, oh, we can put that player five spots later. A team, if you have your guy, you have to take him. And if you like him, even though 6 felt like a stretch, they loved him. And even if they traded 16 and 18 to get into the top 10, I don't think he was getting past Golden State at 7.
Right.
And so it's like you have to take him right here. So I want to know what you think about if he and Shea can play together.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they can. As a rookie, there might be some problems, but I definitely think there's in the future, Giddey develops to that 75th percentile outcome or something like that. I definitely think it shouldn't be that huge of a deal. But to some extent, there might be some issues. But I think overall, Oklahoma City, I like what they've been doing. They seem to be they're not like confused about where they are in their process. Like they know they're rebuilding, they're in early stages. So they're going to give him opportunities. They're going to put him in different spots. They're going to try him out, see where he fits correctly for them and stuff like that. So I kind of have some trust in them developing him. So that he's another guy that I definitely I think has a lot of talent because I'm a big fan of passing. I think passing is one of the skills that can really give you like high value as a player and for a team, obviously. But I kind of worried that because of the shooting and because of the way, obviously, to utilize the passing, you need to have the ball in your hands and stuff like that. Will he go to a team that will give him those opportunities and will really, give him chances to fail and, develop them and stuff like that. But I think Oklahoma City will do that. So that's why I ended up with him all the way up at tier 2.
Yeah. Why Jalen Green 5th? With the elite athleticism, I think his playmaking, especially the ability to create and hit tough shots in the second half of the G League bubble, really impressed me. You could tell during the G League bubble, like, okay, he's figuring out how to get NBA guys off of him a little bit better to get shots off. Why is he behind Suggs and Barnes for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just better players. I mean, 5 is still pretty decent. Like, I think he'll be a solid player. But yeah, I think I really believe in like passing is a skill that I think to really have. It's not just the volume scoring, but you have to have great scoring and passing. And Green is not a bad passer. Like he's like decent and stuff like that. But
he's not Suggs though.
Yeah, he's not as good. Until I mean, Barnes is on another level.
Yeah.
Even with Suggs. So yeah, I think that's where it kind of separates from me. And as far as like the scoring, I think you could only bring so much value as like a really great scorer. Like think about like a DeMar DeRozan, how great of a half-court scorer. I remember always watching him and like he like put up these incredible performances, but it'd be at the end of the game, it's 9 out of 20, 45% shooting, and he didn't really. If you look at more advanced stats, he didn't really make a big impact on the like value to winning. And I kind of learned through guys like that that's not really like a way to really add a lot of value, to winning games. So yeah, that's kind of the basic, my basic concern for Green. I think he'll be able to put up points. But even with like the shooting at the G League and stuff, I wonder if some of that was a little bit like a hot streak to some extent. Like I'm not saying he's a bad shooter or something, but yeah, I do think some of that was a little bit lucky, I think. But yeah, no, he's definitely a talented player, and that athleticism is incredible. So I think he'll be productive and he'll like get points and stuff like that. But I don't know if he's ever gonna put up really high-end value. I think he's maybe more of a sure thing than like Scottie Barnes. I think with Scottie Barnes, if he doesn't shoot that well, he'll probably be worse than Green. But if Barnes shoots, he's all of a sudden like really, really valuable. Especially again, we're talking about how they fit with a contending team eventually, like down the line.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think with Suggs and Barnes right next to each other here? What do you think about Toronto taking Barnes and leaving Suggs on the board? Because we heard probably about 10 days out that that's what they were leaning. And I mean, I get why. Again, if you, like you said, if Barnes is shooting, that's a whole nother level of a player. Like that's incredible. What do you think? You have Suggs ahead of Barnes. What do you think of Toronto taking him?
Yeah, I would have took Suggs, but I think for Barnes, Toronto is a good fit. So that kind of made me more confident in him and taking him, like putting him at 4. What was I going to say? What's his name? Masai. I think he's done, obviously, through the years, a really good job developing a lot of these guys. So I'm kind of that kind of made me more confident with Barnes. But yeah, I definitely would have took Suggs. I'm interested. How do you think all this stuff with the Franz? Are you a Franz fan? Or well, I'm guessing you're lower than me probably, but.
I had him, like 8, 9, 10, kind of that range. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. So, yeah, what do you think of the Magic and, like, Suggs and Franz and the guys they already have, like, Cole and Fultz and stuff?
Yeah, so my question is more how Suggs is going to fit there with all of their guards and not how much Wagner's going to fit. Because if you look at their roster, they have a lot of guards, combo guards, athletes. They've got the bigs. I thought they needed to come into this. When we did a lot of mock drafts, we put Barnes at 5. Early on, we put Barnes at 5. And then it was like, well, where do they go at 8? And I said, give them Kuminga or Wagner again, or Moody. Give them another forward. Who doesn't want a 6'9", 6'10", intelligent defensive forward? You could never have too many of those. So actually, Wagner as a fit, I don't think there's like any question at all. I think he's amazing for them. Golden State not taking him is interesting because I think Wagner's a guy you can put, had they taken him at 7, on the floor probably right now and give you good defense on a team that doesn't need much offense from you. So that's why I think he would have made sense at 7. My question is, how do you fit Suggs there? And not even how much do you fit Wagner?
No, I was asking about both, but yeah, Suggs as well. What do you think? They'll start him, right? In your opinion?
I mean, I just don't know what they're going to do with Fultz. Like,
yeah, I guess they'll have to bring Fultz off the bench, I'm guessing, and Cole was like a 6-man, like a fire, like, microwave 6-man.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got one more year of Gary Harris, and then Hampton as well. Like, Hampton's a clear part of the future. And
I forgot about him. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels kind of like a logjam.
Those guys, maybe they'll trade like Cole or Fultz and Harris or some for like a pick in the future. Or something.
Harris only has one more year, only next year on his deal. So I could see a veteran team kind of wanting to bring him in at the deadline or something. But again, it's just a logjam. If you take a guy this high, I still am of the opinion you got to play him. So I don't think you can take a guy at 5 and then be like, all right, here's the bench. Hope you enjoy 8-10 minutes a game. Like, you're going to have to play him more than that. And I don't know which one you fit. That being said, Cole, Suggs, and Hampton here in OKC, I watched the 3-guard lineup do really well. So I used to be anti 3-guard lineup, and then I saw Billy Donovan do it. And now I look at teams, I'm like, well, if I got 3 guards, I'll just run them out there together. That would be an amazing 3-guard lineup, because you can run those 3 running together would be really difficult to stop. So I like those 3. If Fultz and his 16-5, 16-5, and 17 over the next 3 years, that is my question mark. I think he's the guy where it's like, I need to know what they're going to do with him and what their plans are before I really get a feel for what like Suggs' immediate role is.
Yeah. Some people question, I saw my buddy Francis, I love that guy, he's a great analyst, but what's it called? He was talking about like how all the forwards in Orlando, none of them are like these high usage guys, and like, do they have enough offensive firepower? But I agree with you. I don't think that's really an issue. If anything, that's good that they're not, demanding possessions and stuff like that. And you have like the guards. I'm a believer in Suggs' ability, maybe not as rookie, but eventually to be able to create. And obviously Cole, I think if anything he could do is, get buckets and stuff like that. So those are the 2 guys I hope they keep. I mean, I was definitely a big Fultz fan when he was coming out, but hasn't quite worked out that well. But I don't even know what they would be able to get for Fultz at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It would almost, you need another team to like give him like another, like a 3rd chance. I don't know what that brings back if you move him.
Right. Yeah. You might have to like even add something to get rid
of him. You might have to add. Because even like the contract is what could be difficult. It's like, hey, do you want Markelle Fultz? Sure. Okay, well, here's you're going to pay him $50 million over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, just final thoughts. Give me, again, we talked about a little Mobley, the case for having Mobley number 1 here.
The case for Mobley number 1, I think. Damn it! I thought of this one before because I thought we'd discuss it, but now I can't remember it. I guess just it's more like I know a lot of people think Cade is like next like a Luka type player, and I'm a little bit less confident about that. I think Mobley, Cade, and Suggs are all very, very good prospects, but none of them are like necessarily like that like top 5, top 10 level player in the future. So with that in mind, I think with Mobley, how great he is potentially on the defensive end, I think that could really add a lot of value. And I think there's a good amount of offensive upside there as well, like as far as like face-up game and, the athleticism, obviously, and stuff like that. So, I gave Mobley a slight edge, but I definitely think Cade is a very talented player, and it's fairly close with them. I think just with Cade, after like growing a couple inches this year, it kind of slowed him down a little bit. So I don't think he kind of hasn't been able to create separation. I think part of it is definitely a big part of it is like the Oklahoma State like spacing hasn't been great. But
oh yeah, it was terrible. I went up there. I was probably up there 8 times this year, and every time I'm thinking, man, he's got no room to work, and now he's going to have room. not only will he have room on an NBA floor in an NBA offense, but now you're going to have Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Livers out on the outside. I mean, he's going to have so much more room to work. I thought about that as soon as they picked Livers. I was like, oh, yeah, take a shooter with your next one too. Like, give him room.
Do you think like Hayes is now like pretty much not going to live up to his expectations because he just won't get like the ball that much and stuff like that?
Who? Oh, Killian.
Yeah.
So I actually like them playing together because of the versatility, where neither of them has to have the ball, but they both excel on it, and they're both like decent off of it as well. So I actually don't think this is maybe a major negative to Hayes' game. Will it limit some, at least opportunity? Yes. Cade's going to get the keys. There's no question, as he should. Like, you don't think get number one and then not getting the keys to the organization. So I think for Killian to hit his, let's say he wanted, like, he hits 90 percentile outcome, I don't think it's in Detroit. So in that aspect, I do agree with you. I don't think it would be in Detroit. But in the short term, I don't think it actually hinders him that much. If anything, again, Detroit's going to be in a spot to where we're going to let our young guys fail. We're going to just put them on the floor, just like they did this past season. Sometimes that's how you learn, and that's how you get better. That's how most teams, in my opinion, should use their G League team. Hey, we're going to have you run things that you're not comfortable with until you're comfortable doing it, and I don't care if we lose in the process. And if Killian has to improve with his, spot up and off movement shooting, and it just means taking a bunch of L's, but Killian becomes really, really, really good at that. That, I think, the long term for him makes him that much better. So in the short term, it could look like it's hurting him a lot, where I think long term what he'll develop playing off the ball more, when we already know how good he is on ball. Again, just my opinion, it's how it's how you use him. But if he hits his like max outcome, if he really, really excels, I have a hard time seeing it happen in Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, Killian does like at least back in France and like as a younger player, he really struggled as a spot up shooter. Like his footwork was horrible in those situations. So playing with Cade, hopefully in that aspect, he starts to develop. Hopefully, I mean, you would think, you never know, but yeah. But as far as like hitting higher outcomes, I think it's gonna kind of like push him away from that arc, like career arc.
Yeah. Man, any other last second thoughts or guys we didn't talk about you really wanted to hit?
Let's do it real quick. Boston. What do you think of BG Boston? Are you a fan of BG Boston?
BJ Boston's another one where once we hit 40, I thought, oh man, I wonder if he's just telling people not to take me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, again, I don't know if teams did this. Even when a guy struggles majorly, I think it's foolish to completely ignore the pre-college sample, the pre-college tape. Like that stuff matters as well. And I think the stuff we saw from him in high school, which is why many people thought he was going to be a top 10 pick back in October.
Right.
It's still there. Like somewhere it is still in there. And I just saw 51 as, honestly, I'm not going to say it shocked me more than Cooper falling, because we kind of knew going into the night they're both going to be in the second round, but I thought they'd both be in the 30s. So, it is probably as equally shocking to me that he went that late. Once it hit 35, I probably would have taken it. Like if I was a GM, I'm like, man, I saw this kid in high school. It's in there somewhere. I'm gonna attribute a lot of his struggles to just the year he had at Kentucky, the way they maybe hindered him in the offense, and not that he's not good anymore. And I don't know. I thought it was a mistake for a lot of teams to pass on him in the second.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen with Kentucky guys again before, where Jalen Johnson, for example, kind of had up and down freshman season, and then kind of came back to his arc that he had at AAU. And it, I think a lot more common than people realize. Like I talked about the age curve and how like dependable it is, but at the same time, you'll see it's not like every year a guy steadily improves in exact amount. A lot of times guys will like kind of stagnate for a bit, but then continue to develop. I used to think that like stagnating for a young player is bad. I mean, I guess to a degree it is bad because that year you didn't improve. But most of the time, if a young guy stagnates, next year they'll continue on a similar arc, right? They'll continue to improve anyway. It doesn't mean that they stopped improving or they stopped developing, as long as they're still at a young age. Obviously, you know, at 30, usually guys don't get better. But yeah. Yeah, I think that's about. But the one thing I'll say with Boston real quick is I have heard some like not horrible, but just like off court like habits and stuff like that. Like you know, maybe a little bit like how do I put it? Like not always the right approach to his development and stuff like that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that's like a huge deal. Definitely in the 50s, I thought it was a good pick. We'll see what happens with him. Yeah, thanks, Derek, for doing this with me. I don't know, do you have any final thoughts? Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. I appreciate you letting me come on. I'm obviously always read all of your stuff, so it's nice to chop it up and get to talk basketball with you.
That's the only thing I write is tweet. I mean, I write like in behind the scenes.
Yeah. No. I mean, even Twitter. That's what I mean. Like, I'll go through because some of your thoughts. What I appreciate about you is you do a good job of not conforming to. Oh, Twitter told me to think this way.
Yeah.
Which that is extremely frustrating for me when I see that. I'm like, oh, here's an intelligent guy who's just basically being bullied into thinking a certain way, and you don't do that. And that's one of the reasons that I always check up on your stuff. And even if it's a simple tweet, like getting your Springer one today cracked me up because it was factual, but it still like made me kind of laugh. But no, I appreciate you letting me just talk hoops with you. It's always fun.
Yeah, I love doing these, but we can't go on for hours. But so yes, thanks for coming on. And